Medicine, with the leadership of 3 new deans, a multi-million-dollar campus expansion project, and a strong desire to build a lasting relationship with the Vincentian community. Trinity is known as a premier-level medical school in the Caribbean, and we intend to broaden our focus to become the best medical school opportunity for students all over the world. From the Trinity family to yours, thank you for supporting our school and allowing our students to find a home with the people of St. Vincent.
It's a beautiful afternoon in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. A warm welcome to our invited guests and to our viewing and listening audience. This press conference, hosted by the Trinity School of Medicine, is being held to unveil an exhilarating campus expansion project and to introduce new members of the leadership team in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We have present with us Founder, President, and CEO of the Trinity School of Medicine, Mr. Stephen Wilson, and 2 of 3 new deans who will be introduced to you shortly. I'm LaFern Fraser, an educator in the field of psychology, with the distinct pleasure of facilitating this afternoon's press conference. We anticipate a relatively brief conference with Mr. Wilson leading the charge, providing us insight to the eagerly anticipated expansion of the campus here and, of course, getting us acquainted with the new deans. We will also hear briefly from these trailblazers and distinguished leaders in the medical field. Following will be a panel discussion on the immediate plans and expected impacts of the changes being made at Trinity. There will be sufficient time for one-on-one questions by the media with our panelists once the official proceedings come to a close. This press conference is being carried live by Boom, IKTV, Eyewitness News, and Asbirth News Network. Our online audience is invited to drop questions in the comments, and we'll do our best to present these questions to our panelists. Without further ado, President and CEO, Mr. Stephen Wilson.
Thank you for that kind introduction, and welcome everyone to our press conference. For those of you who may not know who we are or what we do, we began here in 2008 with the Trinity School of Medicine. And since then, we've morphed into a university, Trinity Medical Sciences University. And in 2014, we started our accreditation initiatives with CAMHP. We consider ourselves one of the premier medical schools in the Caribbean. We have focused on quality and outcomes, which have been at the ceiling of the Caribbean medical schools. So that's a remarkable outcome that's on a par with U.S. medical schools. Not too many people can say that and prove it. So we're excited about that. We've come a long way since 2008, and we have a long way to go. It never ends in medical education. It's a constant movement forward, constant learning, new methods, new equipment, new science. It's always growing. And one of the things we can't do as a medical school is sit still and rest on our laurels. We do not do that. We're always pushing. That's part of my job, is to keep the academic team moving and to make sure that students are getting what they need and their outcomes are what we want and what they want. We've built a wonderful team over the past 15 years. This September, we start our 16th year in St. Vincent. That's a milestone, and part of the reason I wanted to come to you today is to say thank you. Without the Vincentian people, the support of the people, the support of the government, the hospital system here, we wouldn't be where we are today. So we're so grateful. And one of the ways we give back is through this Vincentian graduates. As a matter of fact, this past year, March, we had 4 Vincentians match in the U.S. with stellar residencies, and they are exceptional students. We're so proud of them, and I know you are too.
All right. In terms of I want to switch a little bit now to the campus expansion project and just get a little bit more detail in there in terms of how the campus expansion project enhances the learning experience for students in the MD and pre-med programs at Trinity.
Let me just start by saying that you have to have proper facilities to make sure that the outcomes that we all want can happen. And when you look at the new curriculum that we're moving towards, and it's state of the art, but it requires certain facilities to make it work even better. So as we discussed over the last year or so what we wanted to do and where we wanted to go, I realized, we need to facilitate that with the right study halls, the right lecture halls, the right small group rooms, the right faculty, all those kind of things. So we put that together and we've vetted it internally, and we think that this can be done in stages. Just like any business, you don't want to overbuild or underbuild. You have to start with a plan that goes for the next 5 years, and the build out for the clinical piece has been done. So this is a 3-year project, and we've taken, and I think the deans can help tell you better, but we have in mind what is needed for the success of the students in this build out. And I think it's going to be awesome. Can you maybe talk more to that?
Students of today learn very differently than we did 20 years ago. The times of lectures and taking notes are past us. And so in medical education, the same is true. Technology has deeply impacted medical education. So because of that, we have to design buildings that allow us to bring in technology that can impact our learners. Today's learners, if they do not feel that something is relevant to their life, or if they cannot learn it via technology, then it is irrelevant quickly for them. So, for instance, the anatomy lab is going to have the capability of teaching them technologically and comparing it to cadaver models. And there is no replacement for that. The small group study areas, students learn by discussing with each other. They do not learn always in solitude or in silence. They often have to have discussions or draw diagrams. They see things very differently in pictures, much more than we used to. So all of those kinds of ideas behind the construction projects are built into the changes that we know medical students now need in terms of how they learn.
Thank you for that. It is quite clear, based on what you all have been saying, that you have students in mind when you are designing anything related to Trinity School of Medicine. Can you touch a little bit on how, with the changes and developments that TSOM is making, how you will continue to prioritize the well-being and development of your students?
I have to admit, the first time I came to St. Vincent, got off the plane, looked outside, I was like, wow, this would have been a much nicer view to study in than the downtown Indianapolis, Indiana. So I think there are ways that, honestly, the community itself, the land itself, help the well-being and wellness of our students. like Dr. Manahan was just speaking about, one of the ways that you work on health and wellness of medical students is not isolating them. None of us were built to be alone. We were all built to be in community. And being a part of the community allows you to do that. Being able to talk in small groups and teach each other allows you to do that. And on top of that, being able to work with the high schools, the grammar schools, allows you to have those outlets which, while they are educational, those outlets really change the attitude of students and honestly the psychology of them, because what it does is it shows them the impact they're already having. One of the reasons you get stressed out as a med student is you think you're learning so much and you're not doing anything with it for so many years. But when you have the community, the government working with us, it changes that. And another important point that goes with that is not only are the things being built to help the students, when COVID hit and everything shut down for a while, Trinity's campus became a hub for education for the Ministry of Education. So we know that we will continue to work with the Ministry of Education closely because that's the future.
I was going to also say about the mental well-being and emotional well-being of our students. If you follow Trinity School of Medicine on Instagram, it tells you the amazing things that these students do together in the community for fun. They do yoga together. We did not have that possibility when we were in medical school. They take fun trips around the islands together. There is no replacement for that, and they feel very bonded. They are a tight crew. One of the things that tells us that the students are bound together is that they love Trinity when they graduate. They stay in touch. They want to come back. They want to contribute to the education of other students. They want to stay connected. So Trinity, I think, has done an incredible job of focusing on improving the mental and emotional well-being of our students while they're in that crucible of medical education.
Thank you. Dr. Geisler, you mentioned the partnership with the Ministry of Education in the past, and you anticipate there will be continuation of that. How do you see that partnership with the Ministry of Education developing? What do you think the trajectory is going to look like?
The Minister of Education here at St. Vincent is an incredibly forward-thinking individual. I mean, truly incredibly forward-thinking, that he understands how education is changing, how the needs for education are changing. With the building of the new laboratory system that they're building here in St. Vincent, that is going to benefit the people of St. Vincent as well as Trinity. That is that type of partnership, working closely with them, seeing what the needs are and responding to the needs, are how we're going to continue to work together with them. And our meeting this morning was just amazingly positive, being able to just talk about what all of us are dreaming and realizing where those dreams actually can go and are going, with people like the Minister of Education and President Wilson, who just always is thinking of not just today, but what are we doing next year, and the following year, having that plan in mind. And that's the same mindset that they have, so that's why it'll keep going.
And are there any specific initiatives that will be coming on stream in the near future in collaboration with the Ministry of Education that we can look forward to?
There are many, many, many ideas that we shared with each other this morning. Some of those might center around educational initiatives and endeavors in public schools and in private schools in the area. The Minister of Education is very concerned that we create students who want to pursue sciences, STEM programs, and then that we have things to offer them here in St. Vincent so that they can remain here, get great education here. And one of the ways that we as a school can attract Vincentians to Trinity is by having our students and our faculty give educational presentations to those students as they're advancing through their school years. That connection between children who are growing up right here in St. Vincent and Trinity School of Medicine has the ability to impact more students from St. Vincent pursuing medicine. And if they come from St. Vincent and get their training, they are much more likely to, after they complete their training, come back to St. Vincent and impact healthcare right here in St. Vincent.
Thank you, Dr. Manahan. I have a final question from my end, and then I will open the floor to our guests, if there are any questions here. Do you see, this is to any of the panelists, do you see the expansion project and the new leadership being able to have an impact beyond St. Vincent? Do you see this impacting the medical community in the region, and how so?
Absolutely. Our goal isn't to just be the best medical school in St. Vincent. Our goal is to be the best medical school in the Caribbean, so that we're drawing from all over the world. And the more we draw people to here, the more it's going to affect the medical care across the Caribbean and truly the world. And that is something that President Wilson's worked on before, and that we're just going to keep working on to make this the strongest possible med school. And it's truly on the way there. And with these new expansion projects, with the new team and some new people coming in, all I see is a brighter and brighter future for Trinity and St. Vincent.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard from our panelists on their endeavors, their upcoming endeavors, the changes that are taking place at the Trinity School of Medicine. And now we invite you to ask questions, if you do have any, for our panelists. And if you do have a question, we would ask you to come to the microphone and ask. So we'll take a few minutes, see if we have any questions from our audience. Okay, we're going to look at some questions from Mr. Kenton Chance of Eyewitness News.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. I have just 3 very quick questions. Maybe I can just ask them all and then take my seat. I was wondering, how does the cost of medical education at Trinity compare to other medical schools locally, regionally, and internationally? Secondly, what is the value of the new investment in the campus, the monetary value? How much money do you plan to invest? And thirdly, how many people do you anticipate will be employed, and this is the local people, of course, during the construction phase and even after? And maybe you can give us an idea of how many Vincentians are currently on your employ. Thank you.
All very good questions. Thank you for that. As far as tuition and cost of attending medical school, our goal has always been to try to keep it as affordable as possible because we understand how expensive it is, and especially for many Vincentians to attend our school. We've always provided a Vincentian scholarship to all qualified applicants here, and that has worked out fairly well, but it's still an expensive program. But as far as comparability, first you have to compare the similar schools that have the kind of clinical programs that we have are very few. If any, really, has a program like ours. It's unique because we have hospitals that only take our students. They have residency programs, and they work with us with their preceptors, with their faculty and staff. It's amazing. We have so many students in the Caribbean that want to transfer to our school. It's unbelievable. We can't do all that. So we have to limit it because we only have so much space for our clinical program. But we continue to expand it. So get back to the comparable, we have a great campus here that's going to be much better over the next few years. We have a fantastic campus there. So when you compare us against the 5 or 6 schools that say they have these kind of things, we're less. We don't take the path of trying to be really cheap and offer a substandard medical education. For example, our school, you have to pass the U.S. boards to graduate because we're all about that. If you're not going to be a resident, we don't want you. That's not our goal. We want somebody that's going to go to the U.S., get the residency because it's the best in the world there. If you do that, then you can come back to St. Vincent and you're adding tremendous value. There are schools in the Caribbean that you don't have to pass any board to graduate. But do you want those students as your doctors? So, that's the question you got to ask. And I think, so that comparison, you have to do apples to apples. And there are 4 or 5 schools that I do consider, that we should be compared to. And when you compare to those, we are very favorable cost-wise. I hope that answers your question on that. The other one was, what are we spending on campus? A lot. Just the expansion this year's in the millions, okay, several million. The expansion that we're doing in late 24, early 25 is upwards of 7-8 million. So, and then when you look at what we spent just in the last couple years in Warner Robins, it's significant. But we put all of our value back into the program. That we're not just a school that just wants to make money. That's not what we do. It's not what we're about. It's always been to offer a very quality program at one of the best prices we could possibly do it. We've proven that we can do that, and we have done it. So now we want to expand it to more people so we can do this for more people all over the world and bring them here and give them an affordable, great education with great outcomes where they can, we have a lot of plans for the future. Some we really can't talk about because it's not the right forum for it, but it's pretty exciting with some of the other areas that we're growing in. And at some point, we'll be able to talk about those with you, but I hope that answers that question.
Sorry, I just wanted to clarify. The currency, is it U.S. or EC dollars? Is it Eastern Caribbean dollars or U.S. dollars?
Yeah. I mean, in U.S. dollars, it's going to be in the $4 to $5 million range for the buildings. And then you had one other question about. Oh, okay. Honestly, I don't know the exact number, because there's pre-COVID numbers and post-COVID numbers. We maintain the same student body through COVID, which was remarkable. Because we were shut down for a while, so we're now building back the Vincentian community. I have to say, without looking at payroll, somewhere around 100 Vincentians.
And one of the things about our faculty too is that there are 4 of our 5 deans here on the St. Vincent campus are Vincentian, which is pretty remarkable. And the new dean that we're bringing back, actually, as I said it, we're bringing him back. He was a former professor, and he and his wife and family loved it so much that they wanted to come back and be part of the community again. And then we have many other faculty who are either Vincentian born or who have naturalized over the last several years. And so that's a very important point, is that it's Vincentians training Vincentians in medicine. A lot of it is.
Okay, I believe all 3 or 4 of your questions were covered. Kenton, is there anyone else who has questions for our panelists? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands at the moment. I see one. We have coming to the microphone Mr. Nigel Scott, the director of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Community College.
Thank you very much. Not a journalist by any means, but hopefully a partner in education at the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Community College. My question has to do with Trinity and CAMHP and accreditation and your current status with CAMHP, and whether in fact you will continue with CAMHP as your accrediting agency.
So our current status with CAMHP is that we're accredited fully. We have another site visit coming up in October, and we're very encouraged with it because there's no major issues at all. Our current plan is to stay with CAMHP because they've been very good to us, and the CAMHP standards are the same as the US standards, the LCME. And to be honest, that's what we're used to working with. But, I never know what's going to happen in the future if something changes. And the way a lot of accrediting bodies have gone, they've ended up combining with other ones. We've seen that in the US. So I don't know what the future is, but yes, we're going through accreditation again in October. We fully expect to be fully accredited. I have never seen any accreditation body not want to say something, but that helps us get better. I would love to talk with you in the future because we have some plans that we were talking about with the Minister of Education today that would involve you very much. And that is just where I see how we can help the community.
I might add just a little bit to that because I was the one that decided in 2014 to go with CAMHP instead of ACCM. And the reason is, in my opinion and experience, has been that CAM is much more stringent on their schools. There's schools that could not get accredited with CAM that are accredited with ACCM. So, when you look at the body itself, it's harder on its schools, but the outcomes are better, and it forces you to be better. So that's important to us, and they're more transparent. For example, I mean, they'll tell you, I'm not sure I like it, but they'll say, well, this school needs to work on this. That doesn't mean it's bad or it's wrong, but they say, you need to work on that to get it to this point from this point. So the people know, right? I mean, that's their goal. They want to be transparent. There's some good and bad about that, because in our current environment, you have the ACCM school, and of course you have Grenada now that's accrediting, and they're all different. Grenada is doing an 8-year program. ACCM does a 6-year program. CAM, you never know what they're going to, it's 3 or 4 years max, so it's different. And that could be confusing to the audience out there, to the students out there. What does it mean when one's this or that or the other? Well, I think I just explained it to you. That's the way we see it and have experienced it. It doesn't mean one's, since I haven't been accredited by the others, I can't say that they're worse or stronger, but I can only tell you that when others are accredited by a body when they're not under CAM, you judge for yourself. And then why do people leave CAM and go to others? That's a question for CAM, and I think if I were you and I was looking at a medical school, I'd ask CAM that. They might not answer it, but they can at least tell you from their standpoint why they do that. I mean, we would probably prefer that they didn't air things as transparently, because the U.S. doesn't do that. No other body does that, only CAM does. So for us, it's like, it's bad in the sense that if you're an ACCM or Grenada accredited school, you can take anything that CAM says about their current schools and run with it against the CAM schools, but in fact, that's not good business practices anyway, and I'm sure the other bodies would not like them to do that, but they do it. And I think that the big difference is transparency. You know where we stand, and just the fact that the schools that got accredited by other bodies that couldn't get accredited by CAM, that's not good for anybody. They should all be the same. And we think they will be someday, because the United States is putting pressure on it to be that way, because most of these schools send students to the United States, and they've put some standards in that are getting more and more stringent. And ACCM has to follow them, as does Grenada, and the wheels are in motion to make sure all those bodies are following those standards. And I know from just reading on the ACCM website that now they've just turned up their notch, because Title IV has said, these are the standards, and if you're not meeting them, we're going to have a problem with that. So there's still a few more years of this to work itself out. However, the WFME has just given CAM a new 10-year agreement. That's really nice for all the CAM schools. We know our accreditor is going to be accredited by them and the U.S. for the next 10 years. Grenada is accredited directly on their own with the WFME, and ACCM, of course, in Ireland. So that's the landscape. I hope that answered your question.
Very much so. It's all been interesting and very informative because of the questions that have been asked, things that the public otherwise would not know. And we certainly appreciate the questions that came forward and the answers that provided such clarity. Are there any other questions from our audience? Okay. Well, if there are no other questions, then I will bring this press conference to a close. Mr. Wilson, Dr. Geisler, Dr. Manahan, thank you for sharing with us the significant developments taking place at the Trinity School of Medicine, your ideologies and your commitments to your students and to this country. No doubt St. Vincent and the Grenadines offers a uniquely captivating environment, spirited community, and overall inspiring experience for students. We look forward to the continued growth of the Trinity School of Medicine and wish you steady progress toward the accomplishment of your goals. We thank all present here this afternoon for being here, for tuning in, and for disseminating the information that has been shared with us. You're invited now to indulge in some refreshments and, of course, to chat with our panelists as you mingle. Please enjoy the rest of your evening. It has certainly been my pleasure.
A new era of excellence in medical education has arrived, with big changes happening at Trinity School of Medicine. With the leadership of 3 new deans, a multi-million-dollar campus expansion project, and a strong desire to build a lasting relationship with the Vincentian community, Trinity is known as a premier-level medical school in the Caribbean. And we intend to broaden our focus to become the best medical school opportunity for students all over the world. From the Trinity family to yours, thank you for supporting our school and allowing our students to find a home with the people of St. Vincent.